Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
The Rockin' Review is so thrilled to bring you singer, songwriter, entertainer, best-selling author, and I guess I would say a documentarian and filmmaker, Rory Feek. Rory, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I sure appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been listening to the new album, Gentleman, and just great songs throughout. And I mean, could you get any better guests to have on this album with you?
I couldn't get any better guests. It's amazing to me how many wonderful artists came on board to sing some of these songs with me. It wasn't my doing. I don't really know. I've met a couple of them, but I don't really know any of them. So that happened through other channels and people sharing the music with them. And I was as much in awe of this happening as everybody else.
Well, I love it when I read that, Dolly Parton reached out and wanted to be a part of this, and particularly on the song One Angel, which has an amazing video that came out this past April. But you and Dolly just sound perfect together.
Well, that's probably the most special. They were all special to me, but that one in particular, because Dolly was my wife's hero, and she never got to meet her. I've never met Dolly. But Dolly sent a video to my wife in the last couple of months before she passed away. And it was really special for our family. It was really special. And to have this come full circle 5 years later and have Dolly singing on a song, not just singing on a song, but a song that's kind of about my wife and losing her and stuff. That was really neat. Yeah. And then, because I thought maybe she'd sing harmony or something, but instead she specifically asked to do some. She said, "How about if I do a little bit extra?" And nobody was against that idea.
No, not at all. Well, Vince Gill, Trisha Yearwood, Alison Krauss, Heidi Feek. It's like I can go on and on. Ricky and Sharon. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's amazing. Yes, sir.
But, this is your first solo album out. And what I always admired, Roy, was your songwriting as a whole, and also just, the way so honest with your lyrics and songs. And it's always impressed me how many people had hit songs with, your lyrics and everything, such as Colin Ray, Clay Walker, obviously Blake Shelton. And it's nice to see you putting out this solo album now, really, bearing your heart and soul on this.
Well, thank you. I'm excited about being part of this record too, because I didn't know what it was going to be like. I had only made albums with my wife, and I was a part of those. And so I know I played a role and I had a voice in them, but I didn't know what it would be to just showcase my own voice and the songs that I would choose. Even though I am a songwriter, I only wrote 2 of the songs, 14 songs that are on there. So that's an exciting thing for me, just to have found 12 other songs better than my own to record on there. And it isn't that they're not about me. They just weren't written by me. So they still seem to be about my life, and definitely things I can relate to. I just didn't write those.
But I think also, going back to some of your influences, such as Don Williams and Merle Haggard, to where, once again, musicians and artists that were great at finding songs that fit them and that then they could interpret in their own way.
Yeah, I've always loved that. Don was one of my favorites, and he still is. I'm actually in the concert hall at our farm, and Don is one of the only artists that I remember that every time he played, he just walked on stage with a cup of coffee and sat in a stool. And he just shared the songs and his gift with them. And it's really what I do. I have a stool that sits on stage, and I sit down and I just tell stories and sing songs. And Haggard, on another side, Haggard, he told stories about his life, the women in his life, the way he grew up, the things that were important to him. And so my wife and I always did that. And that's been one of the things that I love the most about having the opportunity is we're not necessarily put in a situation where we have to figure out how to record the songs that we could have the most success with. Right. Instead, we're like, we don't have the most success with the songs that mean the most to us. And so it's an album full of things that matter. And it really came out amazing. I'm proud. It's actually today at our farm, we're supposed to be delivered. I'm keeping a close eye on the UPS truck because they're supposed to deliver them. I haven't seen them yet in person. So it's exciting.
Wow. So the physical copies. Well, it was always so magical, watching the show with you and Joey over the years and the music you guys created. And, I still find it fascinating with the discovery of Can You Duet?
Yes.
And how that kind of brought you guys together.
Yes. Here at the farm, we were not singing together. My wife and I had been married 5 years, and she was a struggling artist trying to make her way. And honestly, at a place where she was about to give up. She had opened a restaurant just down the road with my sister, Marcy. And she had finally come to the conclusion that maybe it wasn't in the cards. And she started pouring into just waiting tables and baking pies and stuff. And about that time, God opened a door, not just for her to have the career she dreamed of, but for me to be part of it. And I definitely didn't see that coming. Just a couple of days ago, we pulled up YouTube and we watched, me and a friend of mine watched a bunch of those episodes of Can You Duet that Joey and I were on. And I just cried. I cried. Oh, it's amazing to me to, just to see what's unfolded again, the story, the life, and that it's all there, because when I was watching that, I hadn't seen it in a while. So when my wife and I were going through it, of course, you have no idea if you're going to make it onto the show or to the final, or even when it's over, if you're going to have a music career, let alone all the other things that have transpired since then.
Well, and I made this mention before we started the interview. When you and I first met, not long after I moved to Nashville, and we were in line at the airport, and you were on your way to a show, and I was on my way to a meeting, and you were so kind to me then, and you were just and you had your TV show on RFD TV, and you were raving about your wife Joey, and it's just that honesty always struck me from when we first met all those years ago, and with all the other things you've accomplished, including your books. Your children's books. I want you to talk a little bit too, Rory, if you don't mind, about your video stuff that you've been doing. Obviously, with the docuseries, with the film, and also with your educational videos that you've been doing now.
Well, I started as a songwriter. I moved to Nashville in 1995, and my goal was to learn to write great stories. And I think, over a few years' time, I learned how to do that. And then as life would have it, at some point you start to realize, I don't just want to write about a great story. I want to live one.
Right.
And so we started doing things a little bit differently, where we started, instead of coming back and forth to Music Row and doing everything there, we started making stuff ourselves. And even though we weren't very good at it, like video wise, it was really authentic and genuine. And it had a way of translating, first off, to us, that it meant so much that it felt like surely it will translate to other people too. And that's how the television show came around. And then I just have continued to document. As a matter of fact, before I walked in here, the kids, where two things are happening, the schoolhouse is right there. Number one, I brought home a bunch of big, huge gunny sacks from a coffee shop. And so they are doing sack races today over there. So I just put my camera on charge so I can go over and not only see it happen, but I can capture a little bit of it. And also we're planting fruit trees and orchard over there. And, in my nature, I'm a documentarian. Like I'm a journaler, I'm a writer, I'm a reflector, I'm a blogger. And so quite often I blog or I write or I journal with video and with photos and stuff. And so that's kind of how I got into it. It just keeps finding its way into making music videos and all kinds of things. I really love it.
Well, and I think that's what translates so well, Roy, to be honest with you. And having watched, your documentaries, your films, obviously knowing your body of work with your songs and everything, but it's so authentic and so honest. And I think a lot of people, only want to show certain sides of themselves and their life and everything. And I think through your books and through, your blogs and everything you've done, you're really sharing of yourself. But do you find that also helps heal others through what you're sharing?
I think so. I was at a thing last night. It was a Muletown in the Round show. So it was a songwriter show at our little cafe, but I wasn't singing. Instead, 3 other songwriters were there and I was manning a camera the whole time. And it was so fun to be part of the crew and not to be on stage. But a lady came up to me afterwards and her father was going through he is going through the last stages of life right now. And she's having a hard time dealing with it. And she mentioned to me that just being able to read our experience and the things that we've shared is helping her in her moment. And that means a lot to me because it's not made or written or shared to do that necessarily. It's mostly made and written and shared, cathartically for myself. So I remember this moment as true and honest as it is, but because of the way the internet is, it lives on and it has a way of continuing to reach people, quite often people you'll never even meet.
With the new album, Gentleman, are you looking at doing some touring? Obviously more singles and videos will come from this. What are your plans in between having, best-selling books and films and documentaries? What's your thoughts on that?
No, I'm not planning on touring. I have a 7-year-old, so I'm going to walk you for just a second if I don't lose you. I have a 7-year-old, and maybe you can see this. That's the schoolhouse right there.
Wow.
So, she has a schedule. Papa has to make lunch for her, and she has a schedule, and I don't want to be gone too much. And then in here in the concert hall, which you can see right here, I can sing. You can only sing for 300 people at a time, but I can walk across our driveway and share our music with them. And then actually I can continue to make things and share it with folks without leaving home. So I try to do that as much as possible. And then every once in a while, like in Montana this summer, someone asked us to come and sing a show, and that's a yes for us because we want to go to Montana. It's not actually work.
Right.
So, we'll do that every once in a while just because it becomes a family vacation. But no, there's no real plans to tour unless it's somewhere like I would like to tour in the Northeast this fall when the leaves are falling because I've never done that. So yes, I'd like to tour there then.
At that point too, with your daughter, it becomes a family trip. And it's not like you're doing the relentless touring. I know you've done it, from your time down in Texas and obviously in Kansas and Nashville, but it's like, you're kind of getting to do it your way. You've got your own hall, what perfect intimate setting for 300 people to come and enjoy you. And then you get done with the show, you sleep in your own bed still.
Yeah. I mean, I can go on intermission at the show and walk over and, tuck Indiana in and then come back and get on stage. And then when I learned, my wife and I learned a long time ago that more money won't make you more happier. It won't make you happier. And so we don't need to tour to make more. Like things are okay. We keep going and we're doing well. And if you just keep doing good things for the right reason, you surround yourself with good people, financially, so far it works out to where we're okay. And we just want to keep doing the best things we can do day by day. And, and not sacrifice the things that are most important. Quite often when you have to go on the road and that's your only way to really make an income, it costs everything else. It costs, I have a big garden. And I'm worried about how quickly those weeds are catching up with me already. And I'm here every day. So my wife years ago, this was part of why we ended up building all this is we did that for a while. We traveled and toured before the television show we made. And I know one day, I remember when it was in 2010, or maybe it was 11, I can't remember, but we were in Las Vegas at the award show and we were nominated again for an ACM award. And it was the pinnacle and it was wonderful. It was very, very wonderful. But she was at the end. Like we're sitting there with 10,000 people all around in those like front 4 rows at the place where we've always dreamed to be in. And I knew, and she's like, she literally said, let's go home. And it didn't just mean like tomorrow, let's catch a flight after this is over. It's more like she knew that it was time to not just sing about living on a farm and a simple life. Let's figure out how to live on a farm and live a simple life and do something extraordinary from here. And that, strangely, even though it could have ended up in complete defeat and I have to get a job, down the road mowing lawns or something, it turned into an opportunity to do it our way. And it still has been just the funnest thing ever.
Well, you've got the brand new album, Gentleman, out. I want to make sure that our viewers know where to go for your blogs, for everything else you're doing. In fact, I'm going to have to buy a ticket and come out and see you at the hall. So where do our viewers need to go?
Well, you just let me know and we'll put you on our guest list. That's the first thing. You come anytime you want. As far as to be able to find out about the blog I write on my name, roryfeek.com, we have a blog there. I have lots of information about the school and the farm and the concert hall. And this weekend, Doug Stone is singing in the concert hall. So that's exciting for me. Now it's not just me. Now Indiana and I can get dressed up and walk across the driveway and see one of my heroes sing. But there's also information about the restaurants and, anything that we're doing. I share the music videos and all kinds of stuff on there. That's the best way to find it. And then I think, we have stuff on Facebook and Instagram. I don't personally do any of that. I just make things and share it and they find their way there. And that works real good.
Well, I'll tell you what, I love the new album, Gentleman, and I know that so many others are going to enjoy it as much as I do. Rory Feeks, thank you for joining the Rock and Review, and we can't wait to see you live.
Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.